Hi there. Welcome to a special episode of A Man Taking Care of Business, where I follow up with Brandon, the owner of Sad Entertainment. Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, man?
That's good, man. How'd you feel about the last episode?
It was like out of my comfort zone, but I think that's good for me.
Oh, man, that's good, man. You need to do that for like your business, especially, right?
Yeah, it's important, especially nowadays with the rise of social media and
Mm-hmm.
it's important to keep that up.
What I really learned from the impression I got is that I'm just impressed by you, man. I'm honest, to be honest with you. Just
Oh,
like your
thanks.
studio, just like your skills. I'm
Mhm.
just curious, just how'd you develop that,
It's a long story.
brother? We got time.
Yeah. So I actually started doing this in like 2017,
Mm-hmm.
2016. Not necessarily with the vision of building a studio, but I had a couple friends who I wanted to get them, sobered up and get them, on their feet because they were going down the wrong path. So what I did was I went down to a music store in Calgary. I bought a couple keyboards. I set up a little studio in my dad's office, and then I guess I just never stopped from there, and it ended up, materializing in this way.
So, like, how did you start up this business, especially? Because, like, it's beautiful, man. I gotta say.
I was an artist too at the time, and I've been a drummer for a long time. I beat maker, so on and so forth, and I saw that there was no like real affordable, decent option in Calgary,
Mm-hmm.
so I decided that I go ahead and try to fill that void. We're a huge city. I mean, we're growing exponentially here, right? The
Oh
art
yeah,
the art scene. So I mean, eventually I think we'll be on par with Vancouver and Toronto. So I wanted to make sure there was a spot for that.
nice. So, what was behind like actually constructing this place?
A lot of work, man. We built it up during uh, the spike in lumber price, right? So
Mhm.
that it was more expensive than we had anticipated. This was just a garage at first.
Was
So
this during COVID?
yeah, this was during COVID. Yeah.
Mhm.
So actually, funny enough, I built the floor plan. I came up with it myself on Minecraft.
How'd you do that?
I just built like a little place, and I was like, we built like 5 different example studios in the game, so we could like fly around and like take a look at how it would look kind of from tried to scale like the size and so on and so forth. And then we went to once we found one that we're like this would be cool and it would work just fine. Um, we took it to a architect, and he drew up the floor map, and then we just built it from there.
So Minecraft helped start your business essentially.
Yeah,
That's pretty wild,
yeah,
man.
man.
So like you mentioned like the Toronto and like Vancouver scene, right?
Yeah.
What why are they so big compared to us? Like how do they like separate themselves?
I think I mean Drake's a lot to do with the Toronto thing, the Toronto scene,
Weekend too,
right?
you would say?
The weekend. I mean, it's funny enough. Actually, the weekend met his engineer, Elangelo or whoever. I'm not so sure of the name in Calgary.
Really?
Yeah. I think he recorded some of the demos for House of Balloons out
Mhm.
just on in Cochrane. So
No
like
way,
yeah, like
man.
he didn't really get his initial push from Toronto, but yeah, I'm sure the weekend too. But Drake has really represented Toronto, right? And in that, obviously, there's going to be people who want to kind of follow his lead, and so I think that's really helped to stir it up. I mean, here we have like a lot of country music,
Yeah.
so if you hip hop's the new rock and roll. I'm not so certain country is following the same trajectory in
Where do you
regards.
see country right now? Because I see it pretty bad, to be honest with you.
It's
It's
not.
very poppy if you look
Yeah,
at it,
right.
right?
Yeah. So like, it's not where hip hop is. It's not. It doesn't have such a mainstream appeal anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are places that it does, but hip hop is everywhere. So we just don't really have as many artists that have come out, of the scene successfully. So I think it's discouraged people, and there's also not as much culture
Mm-hmm.
as Toronto, for example.
So like, you probably like work with a lot of like Calgary artists, I assume, right?
Yeah.
So like, anyone you want to shout out, anyone you can see trying to make it big?
Um.
Because like right now, I can't think of any Calgary rappers. But like in general, like, you're right. Like outside of Drake or like The Weeknd, I can't think of any Canadian artists in general.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people who could make it in this city. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we work a lot with the Sudanese community. There are so many people in that community who could easily make it out and blow up and make it big. All that's lacking in Calgary, I think, is proper PR. We need good managers to find these artists. We just help them with the audio recording, but I mean, if they're not organized in regards to the release schedule and promotion,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to do any good
So you could say that there's a market for that in Calgary, eh?
for PR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. If let's say if you're like an up and coming rapper, right? What would be your strategy to try to make it? Is fully on social media, TikToks, and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, unfortunately, now you really genuinely do have to fake it till you make it. There's no longer a need for
You can't keep it real anymore.
it's impossible.
Mm.
It's possible, but you may as well like buy lottery tickets at that point.
Yeah.
I would probably buy a verification badge on Instagram. Probably the same on Twitter, so that's not showing that I bought Twitter Blue, a genuine verification badge. I would probably, I would hope at that point, if I'm deciding to go down that path, I have rich family.
Oh yeah.
So I could constantly put out TikToks and Instagram ads and Instagram reels and promote them continually. I'd try to buy placements. I'd get different artists on my music. I'd get different artists on my features. Like Russ, for example. I mean, he released I think it was every week for years until he had any success at all. And nowadays you can buy features. So I'd be throwing, if I had enough money, I'd be throwing Drake on my stuff right now. You know, and that's the thing. If you have enough money, you can blow up in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as long as you advertise heavily, post consistently, and pay, buddy.
As an engineer yourself, what what do you need to do to actually make it in this industry? Like, let's say if you want like a high clientele type person like Drake or The Weeknd, you just gotta like give your beats away for free, basically. You just tell them,
Um,
hey, I'll mix something for a discount. How does that work?
I think a lot of it has to do with, again, like creating a character for yourself. I mean, when we first started, we were making a lot of vintage style ads
Mm-hmm.
and trying to create a character for our studio, right?
So more
And
like a hipsterish type thing.
kind of, but at the same point, like it's something that I'm into as well. Analog. We wanted to keep analog alive, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, and that was a big part of our, because a lot of things are digital now, right?
Yep.
So eventually, if you develop a character strong enough and you become reputable enough in your city, then when Drake comes to the city, I
Well,
mean,
he'll be seeking you out in
there's
a
nowhere
sense,
better to
right?
go. You know, we're the first on Google.
Yeah, that's true. How did you get to be the first like 5-star place in here?
We're the highest reviewed studio in the history of the city, and I think it has to do a lot with keeping personable with people. When
Mm-hmm.
people come in here, I don't say past their time. Okay, now it's time to leave. I give them their extra time to record. I try to work with them on the track. You know, I and I don't cut any corners, right? Including, especially, and that might put me in debt. Like that might ruin my life. I'm willing to go far.
That's more the artist in you, I guess, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to make sure that when artists come here, they have what I would want if I was coming in as them.
That's very respectable, man. I'm just curious, just when you're talking about your clientele in general, we're talking more about rap as well, right?
Yeah.
But like, what other kind of genres do you guys have in here?
We
Any
have
like brown music? Any international stuff?
Yeah, we have a lot of Punjabi artists come in. We've had like reggaeton artists come in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do. We've had like even like buskers sometimes that play on the streets will come
Mm-hmm.
in. They'll record their piano playing.
How does recording that compare to like recording like a hip hop track? Is like this in general is it the same thing?
For the most part.
Yeah.
Rock is a bit more difficult because you have so many mics you have to concern yourself with,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like sometimes one drum set will be mic'd up with 16 drums or 16 mics.
Okay.
And I mean, then you got to balance them. You got to make sure they're all in phase. You got to make sure everything's working out just fine. But if it's a Punjabi artist in the booth, then yeah, you treat him like a hip hop artist. You treat him like any other artist, and you know,
Just like that, eh?
just like that. Yeah, once you learn the ropes, it's
Where do you think Calgary in general is just gonna be like country music, or you think like because Calgary is a pretty big Punjabi community as well, right?
yeah.
You think eventually that's gonna take over?
Mhm. I think it'll become more popular than country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's happening already.
Yeah, I can see that too. Because like country, it's sort of stagnated in a sense where just a lot of people talking about their trucks, all that kind of stereotypical stuff, right?
Right.
Just trying
Yeah,
to
and I
be
mean
more poppy.
that's less appealing to our generation.
It doesn't feel authentic to me in a sense. You know what I mean?
I mean, like exactly. It's sort of a formula you apply and you continue to apply, and hopefully it works. And I mean, there's a lot of art that I mean, eventually art becomes like that, though. You know, it starts. What
You could also make the sense hip hop sort of
it
went that
has.
way too,
Yeah,
right?
it has, and it is, and that's the thing. And all modern music is right, but
Mm.
it's like the thing about hip hop is it's so transformable. I'm not so sure that country is unless you start putting like EDM country remixes into it. Hip
Hey
hop
man, you
has.
might be onto something,
You
bro.
might, I might be right, and that's the thing. Like, will Calgarians eat it up? I'm not sure.
But Brendan, I'm wondering if you can just tell me, let's about your background in a sense. Like, did you have to go to school for all this, like, to make such a fine studio like you have here?
No. And that's the thing too. Like, I see a lot of people ask me. I mean, we got a lot of applications to the studio as well. People who
What
want
do
to
you mean by
work
that?
here. You know, we've had even Ukrainian refugees apply here.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and it's and as much as I'd like to give them work due to like whatever's going on, it's like people oftentimes they lead with their degree in audio engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd care more to hear what you've done
Or like a reel or like a
rather
sample
than
in a sense, right?
what you've learned, right? And it's because you can learn and you can recite, but if you don't apply, I mean, there's no practical use to your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's where this all kind of comes into place. I mean, the best thing I've done is decide not to go to audio engineering school.
Well, yeah.
Not yeah. I mean, like for me, like I'm going back to school now, but to start this up and to
What
get
are you doing right now in school?
I'm aiming to go to comp sci. But it's funny the way that I got there is I dropped out of high school in grade 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Honestly, I could not tell.
So it was a tough journey, you know, and like but I'm here today, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a sen I would never encourage to drop out of high school, but even if you do, I mean, there's no hard limit as to how far you can go and how far you can take yourself, right? And so it's like even with audio engineering, filmmaking, any of it,
Mentally, how did you get yourself back to that then, from being a high school dropout to owning a studio like that?
um Well,
But like mental health wise, that must be a shock in a sense as well, right?
yeah, it is a shock. Yeah. It's just sort of you kind of when you feel inadequate enough, it begins to drive you as opposed to depress you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so eventually you look in the mirror and you say like, well, I mean, where am I today? Look who I am. You know, eventually you're no longer comfortable with that, and you
Yeah.
decide it's like either I make a change or I lay over and I rot. And like the
Mm-hmm.
thing of it is I mean, we're I think as humans kind of more inclined to push forward. I mean, that's how we've evolved, and that's where we are as people in the society that we've built, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
you know it, it drives you eventually if you take enough losses, and that's what ends up
You gotta take an L to get a W, right?
you
That's
have
what it
to,
is,
man.
man.
Otherwise, and it's the idea of audio balance. Everything needs to be balanced. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't take a loss, you're never gonna understand how poorly it feels to be there.
Oh yeah.
And then the winds
Even
will,
being so low, you want to get back to that high of the being back on top,
and it's
right?
because of that low. And then once you're up high, you know how it feels to be low, right? And
Yeah.
that's what keeps you from going back there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And again, it's the same with film, and it's the same with audio, any art form. And honestly, nowadays, nearly any career.
Just life in general, right?
As long as you decide I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna work, and I'm not gonna stop. There's a low chance of failure. You just actually can't stop, and that's where most people give in, right? Like it's too
Mm-hmm.
easy. It's too easy, and the comfortability, destroyer of man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%, man. It ruins your innovation in a sense too, right? Like, why would I want? Like, let's say you have like your basic clientele, you don't need to rap. You don't want to expand your business at all. That's
Right.
going to limit you as
Right.
a business, right?
Exactly. 100%, man. And it's the same as like I know. Even with you, right? You coming out and interviewing people and doing these things, like there's a problem. I'm not certain though that there's a point where you're like, oh, this is gonna be. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. Like this might make me so anxious. I might feel nauseous from doing this
I'm
and so on and
throwing
so
up
forth.
before the camera every time, man.
Right, and that's the thing, and that's what makes you a better man, and that's what makes you a better person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's the most important part of it. You have to be low sometimes to make it up.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and again, that's why I mean, if someone mentioned that to me in a resume, I'd hire them.
Yeah. Honestly, if you do that, sometimes that's what hiring managers in a sense don't want to like you to list off like their accomplishments.
Mhm.
In a sense, they want someone they want to work with,
Right.
right? That's what you want.
I want to know you.
Mm-hmm.
There's this story. I don't know if you've read Man's Search for Meaning or heard of it by
Never.
Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and he was in Auschwitz. And in the book, there's a story. So he had to actually put together his life story again through scraps he found in Auschwitz, and he kept it going. And he ended up creating a form of psychology called logotherapy. Logo means meaning, derives from in Greek.
Okay.
I think Marcus Aurelius or some philosopher came up with it. But and the beginning of the book, they talk about a play where there's a Greek or a Jew who's going into Auschwitz, and then there's the the staff who are meant to sort them out and put them into their prisons, and he brings all of his box, which is all of his belongings, which is actually just all of his resume and his certificates, and they ask him, "Is this all you have?" And he says, "Like, yeah, that's all I own." Which I mean, he's a prestigious person in his town. He's able to show off what he's accomplished. But all they did was they picked it up and they ripped it, and they said, "Well, you have nothing now," and that was all it took to break him.
That's it, eh?
Yeah. So as long as you don't value your accomplishments over who you internally are, I mean, there's no possible way that you don't make it. Because
Okay.
it's too easy to destroy a piece of paper. It's too easy to destroy a resume.
Exactly.
You know.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you can circle back for a sec if you don't mind. Just talking about your clientele. I'm just wondering like what a day in the life in the studio is like.
Day
Like,
in the
let's
life
say
in the
someone
studio.
books it and comes in. What's it like? Are they by themselves? Are they an entourage? What's the whole experience?
Every time someone comes by themselves, man, it's a big process to get them out of their shell.
Mm.
So I think it really helps for people to bring in an entourage, you know.
Just some extra support, some
Extra
family
support, you know, like sometimes we have guys that fill a room. There's so many, and they hold their phone lights up down on their boy who just made a song. They're jumping and screaming and singing their
Hype
song.
men in a sense,
That's
right?
that's important, you know.
Okay.
It's all about bringing up the morale. It's tough. You sometimes feel like a caged animal behind the glass.
Yeah, I sort of felt like that too in a
Yeah,
sense.
you're like
man.
it's like almost like you're naked and you're exposing yourself, right? And that's the thing. It's tough.
That's art in general. You have to expose yourself to people, eh?
Yeah, yeah. So it's the same. It just helps to have an entourage for sure. Family.
Let's say I'm at like a 17-hour session, right? My boys are still with me too. What could they do to entertain themselves while they're here?
I mean, we kind of have it set up out there so that there's arcade machines, there's like PS5 out there, so on and so forth, games that they can play and keep their mind occupied. And that's even good for the artist too to step out, maybe like rip a game on something and then come back in with a fresh brain.
Oh yeah.
Get it out of your head. And the longer you stay in your head, it'll drive you insane,
Mhm.
especially in this environment. You sometimes like, it feels like a casino in here, man.
Oh yeah.
There's no light, there's no windows, right? So it's like you're in here all night. You lose track of time. You get stuck in your head, and you
Well, yeah,
know?
when I left your studio today, like when I went outside and just see those lights just flashing at me, it just
You're like, the world is still out there. It
yeah.
still exists, especially in a sound treated place. It's like you're not really. It's strange to consider how frequently and how often we hear reverb coming back to us from our own vocals. So like when you come out of a place like this and you go stand in a hallway and you suddenly hear your echo,
Mhm.
we're used to it in the sense that we're used to seeing our nose to the point it disappears.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when you come into a place like this and step out, it's like holy. It's like you feel like you're kind of going a bit nuts.
Oh, yeah, for sure,
You
man.
know.
I'm just curious, just for the viewers, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, we got a contact form on our website, silencentertainment.com. We get a lot of mail there. So if someone wants to send something through, talk to me, like a resume, anything like that, that's the best place to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate Brendan for being on the show today. I really do, man. I learned a lot about music.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for coming, dude. It was cool. It was a nice experience.
All right, take care, man. That was looking good. Well, thanks for watching this little two-part episode that we did at Side Entertainment. Remember, my name's AMAN, and take care.